Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm here to talk about my personal experience with EFT or tapping. So, one specific example of how EFT is really helpful for me is when I encounter the feeling of overwhelm in life, which happens, not constantly anymore, but it does happen once in a while. And so when I get that feeling of like, oh my God, there's so much going on. What even is going on right now? Life is so much. What tapping does is it gives me a way to stop and make change there and start tapping and thinking and feeling. I don't even have to say anything oftentimes. I'll just pay attention to how I feel and start tapping, and instantly things start to change, things start to shift. And it brings clarity so much faster than if I just sit and, try and breathe through the overwhelm. It's really helpful and really accessible in that way. So I'm 19 years old right now. I'm going to have my 20th birthday in August. And so my teenage years are coming to a close, and it has been quite a ride. And I was introduced to tapping by my mom when I was about 16. So the difference before and after being introduced to tapping are just extreme. Like, I was volatile before that. And I had other methods for coping with things or, making sense of things, making change. But tapping is just so easy and so direct that once I was introduced to it, dealing with my feelings was like a whole other game. Like, it wasn't just dealing with my feelings, it's learning from my emotions and not discounting my emotions, ignoring my emotions, even these extreme feelings that I had, they were telling me something, and emotions are always there for you for a reason, and EFT helps you to really get that and not just feel at a loss for how to handle having emotions, because in this society that we're living in, we're not necessarily taught from a young age how to really feel what we're feeling and take from what we're feeling the lessons that we're supposed to. And so EFT has been extremely helpful in coping with that. And especially in this time when my hormones are constantly changing, like my environment's constantly changing, and then when you throw in the fact that my body is also constantly changing, it's just like, whoa, you need to have a tool like EFT to remain balanced, sane, calm. Yeah, in my life I've experienced a lot of depression. When I was younger, like really young, like inappropriately young, I was experiencing huge bouts of depression. And now, once in a while, I'll come across the feeling of depression, and I recognize it now as my body, my emotions, my energy being like, hey, something's wrong, you're ignoring something. And that's what depression feels like to me now. It doesn't last at all. When I was younger and before I knew how to tap or what tapping even was, I would be depressed. It was like a lifestyle. It wasn't like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit depressed. It was just how my life was for years. And looking back, it's hard to even believe that. Like, now that I'm in the light, it's like it's hard to even imagine how I was feeling. But it was that way. I know that I was depressed for years. And now, like I said, once in a while, I'll feel like a tinge of depression. And then I really listen to it. I listen to that feeling, and I don't try and change it. I just bring my awareness to it. I'll tap a little bit. I'll see what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion trying to tell me? And sooner rather than later, things change. And depression isn't supposed to be a way of life. it is an emotion that serves a purpose just like all other emotions. It's just that if you don't have the knowledge of how to deal with it or learn from it, then it can become, well, it can kind of overtake things and overshadow the joy in life. When I was when I was just starting high school and just finishing middle school, I did some pretty self-destructive things. I would carve things into my skin. I would take drugs sometimes. I would drink sometimes. And I mean, like, party on, Wayne, but it wasn't like that. It was like I was doing something because I felt terrible and had no idea what to do. And these things provided a little bit of relief and released certain chemicals within me that helped me to feel joy, but it wasn't really joy. It was like a quick fix, like a Band-Aid, because I didn't know how to feel my emotions at all. I think that in that early part of high school, I just had no idea how to deal with all the stimulus that was coming at me and all the things that people were telling me and all the things that I was being told about how I should be or act or feel. And so I didn't really know how to experience freedom, really. Like, looking back, it just seems like I was very much, I feel like I had a lot of blind spots and a lot of naivete and ignorance to certain things. And I didn't possess the courage that I do now when it comes to feeling things. Like, now I feel very comfortable with experiencing a wide array of emotions because I look at emotions as being lessons for me and signals for me about how to deal with stimuli. And I was uneducated about that at the time because that's something that they leave out in school, is like how you're actually feeling and how to deal with it. Plus, I was growing a lot. Like, I'm a tall woman and I was growing so much, and I had no idea at the time how to speak up and be like, yeah, I'm gonna need some more nutrition and I'm gonna need like some more sleep. I didn't know how to take care of myself, really, or take the care of myself into my own hands. So I guess looking back, I'm just like really happy that I stuck around and stuck through it and got through it. It was like I was definitely in a tunnel and, I've gotten to the light at the end of the tunnel, I feel, in that phase of my life. And so I'm just really appreciative of everything that I learned from that time, because none of those emotions were there for no reason. And none of those emotions were just like let go of and, I didn't learn anything. It's like it's helped me to become stronger and more courageous and more joy-filled. And yeah, I'm happy now. So all I can say is like, I'm really happy that I got through that dark period. Well, to a young woman that was anything like myself a few years back, I would say that parents generally want the best for their kids, and a lot of the time they just have no clue what that really means. And so I would say to any young woman willing to listen to really hone your calm and like pay attention to your inner calm, because even though there's a lot of hormonal change going on and a lot of emotions up in the air, there is still calm to be found. And I think that when you pay attention to that, the wiser voice inside of you, you make decisions that you'll be a lot more proud of looking back, and that will just serve you so much better. Really know that you're loved That's one very important thing to remember, is that you're always loved. And even if you don't feel like the people around you, like, they don't understand what you're going through, that's probably true. They don't really understand what you're going through, but that doesn't mean that you're not loved. And if you feel like people around you aren't loving you, then you're loved universally. You're loved by all of life. Well, I would like to encourage all teenage girls, all young women, to take their personal responsibility and just feel what you have to feel. And may all of your actions come from a place of love for yourself and for everyone involved. And I encourage gentleness with the self, and I encourage you to imagine as much as you can. Just imagine, and follow your heart, even if it leads you the wrong way sometimes. It'll lead you back. Imagining, that is how you stay on the leading edge of what you want to manifest. You can imagine anything, and anything that you can imagine, you can make happen. And sometimes it'll seem like, when it comes down to it, it's like, oh, well, this isn't exactly what I wanted. But oftentimes, if you pay attention to what you're imagining and how it makes you feel, and then see what you've actually gotten, oftentimes the feeling place will match up with what you've gotten. So that may not make a ton of sense to a young woman, but that's what I would tell myself, you know, there will be joy again, and I will learn from this, and everything's going to be fine, because it's been fine in the past. Like, I've gotten through all of it, so now I'm like, okay, well, I feel like I can pretty much handle anything that gets thrown at me. I know that because I have learned my strength through experience. Tapping with my mom, Helen, is pretty great. I will sometimes have resistance to it, but that's when I know that I need to tap the most. Like, when she starts asking me questions and I start getting like, it doesn't, like, I get kind of flustered and angry, then I know, like, okay, now I actually really need to tap. I've hit something, and I'm going to feel so much better. I'm going to feel light as a feather once I get done with this, whatever it is. So my mom will push my buttons sometimes, and she'll ask the right questions usually. And she's really helpful because I tap by myself every day. Every single day I tap because it's so easy. Like, why would I not? And it's so healthy. So good for the body to tap. So I tap every day. But what differs when I tap with my mom than when I just tap by myself is that so much more change comes so much more quickly, because not only do I have another point of view, but I have the point of view of someone who has studied all of this, a professional point of view. So it's just a perk of being me. I get to have my mom. So really what I would say is to stay on your path, and no one knows your path like you do. So follow your path and you'll be good.